this guy.
who have tuned in to join us. I am not online. If you wouldn't mind, please keep rising for the flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hastings, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Dalton. Present. Mrs. Dam.
Present.
Mrs. Gilman.
Here.
Mr. McCarthy. Here. Mrs. McGovern.
Here.
Mr. Schneider.
Here.
Mrs. Talarico.
Here.
Mr. Weinstein.
Here.
Mrs. Parlavas.
Here. Thank you very much. Board President's report. The only thing I have this evening is that our ethics training unfortunately got moved to March 12th. So if our board could just make that notation. Mr. Taylor had some conflicts, so we had to reschedule. And that concludes my report, and I will now move on to these student representatives report.
Good evening. So just to start off with our basic events for the month of January so far, girls indoor track scored 3rd overall in the Monmouth County Relays, and they also have another track meet coming up tomorrow as well. So they're getting ready set for that. Girls basketball is also off to a great start with a record of 13-2 with another game tonight against Shore Regional, which is one of their biggest rivals as well. And Eli Clark, the Clark sisters have been doing great altogether, but Eli Clark has also had the most assists going on in Monmouth County so far. DECA competed in the regionals events at Keene University in the beginning of the month. We had 19 qualifiers enter in for our state competition in Atlantic City, which is in the beginning of in March. And we also have several students as well who are coming in, who are writing an assignment to qualify for the state event as well. The SEAL literacy tests were also distributed last week. We had languages ranging from Spanish, Italian, Tagalog, Hindi as well. And students were able to admit to work through the program along with Mr. Jackson to help. And finals are going on this week. We have our finals week, and then next week we start our new semester with our new classes, new teachers, and overall it's been going good.
Also in the high school, the drama club is currently working on getting ready for Mean Girls, their production this year. There's always a lot of hours behind the scenes that are included to get that done and ready to be great. Hopefully this year very funny also. On Friday, December 22nd, the student council held a successful pep rally, which had MCs Mr. Young and Mrs. Clark, who got our students pretty excited and ready for winter sports. And they also added games to the segment to keep the students interested, active, and dizzy at one point. Girls bowling is currently 36-0, holding an undefeated record at the high school. They've had undefeated seasons in the past, so it's great to see that team continue their excellence throughout at least my high school career. Boys wrestling is 13-1 also, with a meet tomorrow against RBR, so great to see them holding a good record. And over at the elementary and the middle schools, they held their geography and spelling bees earlier this month.
Wow, thank you both for that report. Sounds like you guys are really busy over there, both schools, right? Thank you so much. All right, with that, we will move on to our superintendent's report. Ms. Weldon.
Thank you very much. I have a few things to report this evening. First, I'd like to start out by just reminding everybody to make sure that all parents, please, to make sure that you have the most up-to-date contact information in Genesis. We do use your contact information from Genesis for our communication, particularly when we have to have delayed openings or emergency school closings. Last week, that did occur a few times, and we used Code Red, we used Web Backpack, our website, we used our Remind app, which I'm happy to say sent the message in 32 languages to our community, and also we use Instagram and Twitter to get the word out about any sort of change to the day based on weather. So it's important for you to keep that information up to date in Genesis so that we can communicate with you the best way possible. Okay, I'd like to recognize some outstanding Spartans this evening. The Township of Ocean Intermediate School held its annual geography bee on January 11th, 2024. The Paul McGrade Memorial Geography Bee is named after longtime TOIS social studies teacher, Mr. Paul McGrade. Mr. McGrade was a beloved colleague and favorite teacher of so many. In addition, Mr. McGrade was the moderator for our GeoBee for countless years. He always had a way of putting our students at ease during a stressful competition. This year, in our second year running the bee in his name, we had 17 finalists ranging from grades 5 through 8. This year's competition was intense, going into 4 rounds of sudden death questions. Our first and second place winners have much to be proud of. Their performance was outstanding. Before I announce our winners, I'd like to thank our supervisors, Ms. Villa and Mr. Stekan, and all of the TOIS social studies teachers and building leadership for their hard work behind the scenes to expose our students to this Spartan tradition. I am pleased to introduce our winner and runner-up of the Paul McGrade GeoBee. Our runner-up this year was 6th grader Jackson Latora. Please come forward. And our winner, Cash Bereza. Please come up. Yeah, we're gonna take your picture. If you would stand in front of the,
Awesome work, guys. That's amazing.
really impressive. These are some of the most difficult questions you'll ever hear.
I can only
in a
imagine.
competition, I can promise you that. Parents, feel free to come on up and take a picture if you'd like. You can come right up.
That's great.
That's great.
That's great.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations. Great work. Okay. I do have more to my report, but students, if you have a lot of homework and need to get home to get going on your homework, that would be perfectly fine. Otherwise, you're welcome to join us for the rest of the evening. Okay, I'm also going to present the student safety data report in accordance with public school safety law and the Board of Education policy 5512. All acts of violence, vandalism, harassment, intimidation, and bullying must be reported to the Board of Education. The information that I'm providing this evening covers the reporting period from September through December 31st, 2023, so this fall. This information includes the number, nature, and mode of the HIB incidents and a listing of other student safety data. So the first part of my report is all about harassment, intimidation, and bullying. You have the nature of the incident and the mode of the incident. And then the columns are this fall, September to December 2023, compared to last fall. We had 11 incidents, confirmed incidents of HIV this fall, compared to 14 last fall. And then below you see the mode and the nature of those incidents. And then on the next page, you see a total of all HIB investigations, meaning a report was made, it may have been determined to be HIB or to not be an affirmed case of HIB. So at the high school this year, you'll see the first 3 rows are this fall compared with last fall. And the columns are the number of initiated investigations, the number completed in 10 days. Those 2 columns are the same. And then the number of incidents found as confirmed HIBs. So we opened 13 investigations at the high school this fall and found 4 confirmed HIB cases. At Ocean Township Intermediate School, we opened 8 investigations and found 4 confirmed cases. Ocean Township Elementary School, 2 investigations led to 2 confirmed HIBs. Wanamassa School did not have any HIB investigations. Wayside School had 2, which resulted in 1 confirmed HIB, totaling 11 for the fall. In addition, we're reporting incidents of violence, vandalism, weapons, and substance abuse in the chart below. You'll see that we had 9 incidents of violence, 1 of vandalism, no weapons, 3 substance abuse, and again, the 25 HIB investigations. Okay, and that is the student safety data report. And the final portion of my report this evening is just to add on to what the students did already share. There are some other events I want to bring the public's attention to and the board. We have our Ocean Township High School Winter Chorus this Thursday night at 7 p.m. Next week, we have from January 30th, which is Tuesday to Friday next week, we have an early dismissal for our fifth graders due to conferences. We have our preschool parent information session, both in person at Wayside Elementary School and virtual for those that would like to Zoom in on January 30th at 7 p.m. And we have in February, OTHS is having their Share the Keys event on February 7th. TOIS is having their Student Council Winter Social February 8th for grades 7 and 8. And their honor roll celebration is also that day. And OTES is having their special Someone Dance on February 9th. So some exciting events coming up in the next month or so here in the district. So that does conclude my report.
Thank you, Ms. Weldon. Thank you for the report, as well as those dates that you shared with all of us. Right now, I'd like to move on to the School Business Administrator's Report. Mr. Hastings?
Thank you, Madam President. I have nothing further from what we discussed upstairs.
Okay, thank you. I will move on to the public comment section regarding agenda items. Following are a series of motions to be read by the committee chairpersons. All motions have been discussed at a recent public work session. Some motions have been approved at a public work session, and the minutes for the approved items are posted on the district website. At this point in the meeting, we will now conduct the first of 2 public comment sessions. The first session will be open for public comments on agenda items only, and the second session will be at the end of the meeting, can be on any topic. Would anyone from the public like to comment on any agenda item at this time? Anyone in the room? Please make your way to the podium.
Hi again, Alex from Ocean Township, Alex Hayes. I was thinking when Mr. Hastings went over his budget presentation of dates, I don't know how the public is going to be able to ask you guys questions and make it an interactive discussion about our upcoming budget if we're not allowed to physically ask questions and get answers from you guys. Kind of defeats the purpose of what you are tasked to do, which is to engage your stakeholders. So it's a little disappointing that we have these new rules, and it's unfortunate that you won't let our superintendent, Ms. Weldon, speak. I was checking to see, actually if there isn't even authority, and if we have, you all have the ability to even silence the superintendent. So I'm going to look a little bit further into that. But I do want to bring to your attention policy 0127. That is your public participation at school board meetings. And it does state that public participation may be statements, questions, inquiries. It does not say anything about whether or not I can ask the superintendent any questions. It doesn't say whether you are able to silence the superintendent. And it doesn't also say anything about her being able to not answer the public's question. We pay her a lot of money, and she's a qualified, exceptional individual. So if the public has some questions for her or Mr. Hastings, or even sometimes people in the audience, it's fascinating to me that in 2024, this is when you decide to enact this. My second question and comment, since I know you're not going to comment on this, is I did see in the previous one, the revised list of committees. This is a committee of the whole, and I see absolutely none of the 3 new esteemed members as committee chairs, but at least 2 of the existing school board members are chairs of 3 committees. I think it kind of paints a picture of the elite few versus the newbies. Mr. Dalton is a former school board member himself, and it's like the adults get the main table and then the kids get the at Thanksgiving dinner, the kids table. That's the impression it reads. And it's rather unfortunate that you couldn't divide it up and get some of the new folks who have exemplary resumes their own chair of a committee. It sounds to me like, since I've been here for the last 6 years, that this is a first, that we've never given new folks committee chairs, and it would have been nice to see them as chairs. And I guess that's it for now.
Thank Thank you, Ms. Hayes, for your comments and questions. Mrs. Conway, is there anyone in the queue?
No, there are no commenters in the queue, Madam President.
Thank you very much. With that, we will move on to the action items.
Move to approve items 5.1 and 5.2. Do I have a second?
Second.
This is for items 5.1 and 5.2. Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mr. Tarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Parliamentary.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Personnel, Mrs. McGovern.
Yes, I would like to move to approve items 6.1 through 6.10. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Hastings?
For items 6.1 through 6.10,
Yes.
Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Parliamentary.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. McGovern. Financial Management and Resource Services, Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move for approval, 7.1 to 7.15.
Second.
16.
16?
7.16.
Oh, sorry about that. Didn't scroll far enough. 16.
Second.
Items 7.1 to 7.16, Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Parliamentary.
Yes. Instruction, Education, and Student Activities, that would be Mrs. Gilman.
Thank you, Madam President. Move to approve 8.1 to 8.6. Is there a second?
Second. Point of inquiry. I think that's what I'm saying here. On 8.1, Ms. Gilman, I believe that we actually say that we want to affirm the HIB report, but we
Move to
are moving to
approve.
approve the rest.
Actually, it says move to approve the receipt of the following HIB.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? This is 8.1 to 8.6, Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes to all and recuse from the school field trip for the wrestling tournament.
thank you. Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern.
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Parliamentary.
Yes. Negotiations, Mrs. McGovern.
Yes, I just wanted to report that our committee has met for the first time with our attorney and our leadership. We will be meeting with the teachers in the coming months. So negotiations is off and running, and I just wanted you all to be aware and the public to be aware that it started.
Okay, thank you for that update. Policy. Mrs. Gilman.
Yes, 10.1, move to approve the third and final reading of the following policies and or regulations as listed.
Second.
For item 10.1, Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
Yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Parliamentary.
Yes. Thank you very much. Policy. Actually, we just did that. I'm sorry, Public Relations, Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you, Madam President. I have two items. One is to move to approve a resolution for the Monmouth County School Boards declaring January School Board Appreciation Month. And the other is to 11.2 is to move to approve the A Uniform Statement Memorandum of Agreement. And just for note, there's a lot of interesting points to be said about the Board of Education resolution, but I don't think I'm gonna read all that stuff today. Okay, needless to say, probably the last one that I like to read is that the Township Board of Education urges all New Jersey citizens to work with the local boards of education and public schools staff towards the achievement of a children's education.
Second,
For items 11.1 and 11.2, Mr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Dam,
Yes.
Mrs. Gilman.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. McGovern,
yes.
Mr. Schneider,
Yes.
Mrs. Talarico,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
and Mrs. Parlianos.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Weinstein. And with that, we will now move on to old business. Is there any old business from the board? Being none, is there any new business from the board? No? Okay, at this time, we will take public comment on any item. Is there anyone in the room that has any public comment? Ms. Hayes?
Alex Hayes Ocean, I see on the bills, the on flow for $840. So I assume, Mr. Hastings, when I brought to your attention, the period product dispensers at the middle school being empty. I'm hoping that was to fill up both dispensers in the middle school and the high school. It's crazy that you can't even answer me on that, but I'm hoping that means that we will have period products in our schools. It's also funny how you guys just said, we are hoping that citizens work with the Board of Ed in school board month recognition, but we can't even ask you questions. It's wild. My second question is, or my third comment rather, which I neglected to state in the beginning, was to congratulate Dr. Morgan, Ms. Weldon, and Ms. Villa on an excellent ELL and MLL report. Dare I say that I don't think we would have seen that report under our previous administration, and it was refreshing to see a thorough and comprehensive analysis of all the things we're doing for our multi-language learners. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else here? Ms. Conway, is there anyone in the queue?
No, Madam President, there are no commenters.
Okay, with that, I'd like to ask the board for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
May I please have a second?
Second.
The meeting is adjourned. See you all next month. Thank you for coming.